On July 4th, as fireworks lit up the skies, something much bigger was exploding behind the scenes in Washington, D.C. A sweeping bill, nicknamed by its backers as One Big Beautiful Bill, was quietly signed into law. But behind this patriotic branding lies a brutal restructuring of America's future. We're talking about cuts that slash billions from healthcare, reduce food assistance, hike immigration fees, and gut education budgets, all while offering huge tax breaks to the wealthiest Americans. Some call it necessary discipline. Others call it economic warfare on the poor. Is this a masterstroke of conservative reform or the start of an economic Cold War against America's most vulnerable? The One Big Beautiful Bill is the nickname for a massive budget package signed into law by former President Donald Trump on July, marketed as a comprehensive reform to make America fiscally stronger and freer. This bill combines sweeping tax cuts, deep spending reductions, and strict border enforcement into one large legislative package. Using budget reconciliation, a process that bypasses Senate filibuster rules, the bill passed narrowly with a Republican majority. Trump called it historic, saying it restores prosperity and strength, but critics say it's one of the most polarizing moves in recent history. At over 800 pages, the bill affects nearly every part of American life: healthcare, taxes, immigration, and defense. Supporters praise it for tax relief and fiscal responsibility. Others argue it prioritizes the rich while cutting essential services for the poor. It's not just a budget, it's a political weapon reshaping America's economic and social policies. The bill is expected to influence the 2026 midterms and possibly the 2028 presidential race. This legislation marks a turning point. Whether it leads to renewal or rupture, only time will tell. A major portion of the One Big Beautiful Bill is focused on permanent tax cuts, particularly for the wealthy and corporations. It extends Trump's 2017 Tax Cuts and Jobs Act and introduces new deductions for things like tips, overtime, and even auto loan interest. One of the most controversial moves is raising the SALT, state and local tax deduction cap from $10,000 to those earning under $500,000. Wealthy Americans stand to save thousands, while middle and low-income Americans see minimal benefit. Supporters say this encourages investment, boosts business growth, and returns money to taxpayers. However, critics call it a reverse Robin Hood, arguing it deepens inequality by shifting benefits to the top 10%. The bill also introduced Trump accounts, tax advantage savings plans seeded with $1,000 per child to promote long-term wealth building. While appealing in theory, many believe these accounts will mostly help those who already have savings. The Congressional Budget Office estimates the tax portions alone will cost over $4.5 trillion in the next decade, worsening the national deficit. One of the bill's harshest realities lies in its deep cuts to social safety nets, particularly Medicaid and the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, SNAP. Millions of low-income Americans may lose access to healthcare due to new work requirements. Adults aged 19 to 64 must now prove they work at least 80 hours per month to remain eligible. Regular re-verification is required, and states are now allowed to charge copays, around $35 per visit, for basic services. This is expected to push millions off food assistance, especially in rural areas where job access is limited. Supporters argue that the system needs to encourage productivity, not dependency. Opponents call it cruel and unrealistic, especially in a volatile job market. Estimates suggest nearly 11 million people could lose Medicaid coverage and 3 to 9 million could be pushed out of SNAP. Critics say the bill trades compassion for budget math. For struggling families, this may mean choosing between food, medicine, or rent, an impossible choice. The administration justifies this as a national security necessity, claiming it will deter illegal immigration and ensure law and order. Critics, however, see it as overreach, criminalizing migration and funneling billions into what they call a militarized immigration system. Human rights organizations warn that these moves could increase abuses in detention centers and create a humanitarian crisis at the border. While Trump's base hails the crackdown, others question the cost and long-term social damage. Another key pillar of the bill is a massive This includes $25 billion for the Golden Dome missile defense shield and significant funds for naval shipbuilding, fighter jet upgrades, and new nuclear weapons programs. Proponents argue that in a world where threats from China, Russia, and Iran are rising, this investment is necessary. But critics call it excessive, saying the US already outspends the next 10 countries combined on defense. Meanwhile, the bill rolls back several green energy initiatives, phasing out electric vehicle EV credits, cutting wind and solar subsidies, and introducing new incentives for fossil fuel exploration, including metallurgical coal. Environmentalists have slammed the move, warning that it reverses decades of climate progress. Industry lobbyists, however, welcome the rollback, claiming it will create jobs and lower costs. This shift underscores the administration's belief that energy independence and military strength should take precedence over climate goals. The One Big Beautiful Bill might offer tax cuts and new spending, but it comes at a steep price, an exploding national debt. To finance the sweeping provisions, the bill raises the US debt ceiling by $5 trillion. The Nonpartisan Congressional Budget Office, CBO, estimates that the total US deficit could grow by $3.3 trillion over the next decade. Economists warn this may trigger inflation, raise interest rates, and burden future generations with unsustainable debt. While Republicans argue the tax cuts will pay for themselves by spurring economic growth, history and data tell a different story. The 2017 tax cuts failed to fully offset revenue loss, and many expect similar results this time. Some fiscal conservatives within Trump's own party, like Rand Paul, have criticized the bill as hypocritical. On Wall Street, the bill has received mixed reactions. Defense and energy stocks surged, but long-term bond yields also rose, signaling investor concern about government borrowing. As the national debt passes $37 trillion, the real cost of this beautiful bill may be anything but beautiful in the long run. The American public is sharply divided over the One Big Beautiful Bill. Supporters see it as a patriotic victory, cutting waste, rewarding work, and defending borders. Trump's base hails it as bold leadership, while Republican lawmakers call it the most transformative budget in decades. But for millions of Americans, especially those relying on Medicaid, SNAP, or federal health support, the bill feels like a betrayal. Environmentalists are also alarmed, calling it a climate crime due to its pro-fossil fuel tilt. Politically, the bill has energized both sides. While it's a rallying cry for Trump's re-election hopes, it also provides Democrats with powerful campaign material for the 2026 midterms. Polls show that only 29% of voters support the bill, while over 50% oppose it. In essence, the bill has turned into a mirror, reflecting not just the policy, but the divided soul of America itself. So, that's One Big Beautiful Bill, a name that sounds hopeful, almost poetic. But inside its pages lies a hard truth. America is being reshaped. Healthcare slashed. Food aid slashed. Education and housing slashed. But tax breaks for billionaires expanded. Corporate protections strengthened. Supporters argue it's the only way to save a bloated system. They say it's about self-reliance, discipline, and strength. But critics see a different picture. A country turning its back on the poor, the sick, and the struggling, all in the name of economic efficiency. This isn't just a bill, it's a battle plan, and it will impact generations.